Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? Let's catch up with the latest results then across Europe, the Americas and some Asian leagues as well. We're going to fly through them. Don't forget to check out my Champions League, Europa League, Conference League video from a couple of days ago as well. Some we'll spend a bit more time on than others, so we'll start with the Premier League and have a good old chinwag about that. Arsenal still top. Manchester City second with a game in hand, but not enough to catch after 2 draws in a row. They got Chelsea next, who are free falling at the minute. Arsenal have Bournemouth, who had a very credible draw against Man United on Friday night, and are unbeaten in at least 5 matches, but 5 draws isn't great for them either. They did play well though. So Manchester United are currently 3rd with that big game against Leeds, and Aston Villa are holding on in 4th. Liverpool wobbly in 5th, and Chelsea, like I said, falling in 6th. Brentford have to be taken seriously at this point. They're only 3 points away because we're pretty sure the 5th place will be a Champions League spot. Because Man City won the cup, that probably means then that the Europa League spot will go to 6th, and another spot will open up in 7th. So I'm expecting, is that 5 Europa League? Yes. So I'm expecting that at least the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, top 7 will get into Europe, depending on what happens with the FA Cup as well, and depending on if any nation, any teams win any of the competitions as well. There is a weird scenario, of course, that if Liverpool were to win the Champions League and finish in 6th, no, that's wrong, finish in 6th, then we would have 6 teams in the Champions League. Or if Crystal Palace won the... No, which one are they in? Nottingham Forest. Or Crystal Palace won theirs as well. Yeah, Crystal Palace I think would have to... I always forget which ones, in which competition anyway. There's a way around. There is a scenario in which we can have 6 teams again. So, down the bottom, West Ham 18th, Burnley 19th and Wolves in 20th. We'll talk about Tottenham though, because that situation is just boiling over. It did calm down a little bit, but yeah, it's got all the worse again. Let's have a look at the fixtures, because we had some really important games. I already said that Bournemouth had a very credible draw against Man United. However, the penalty decisions in this game were completely bizarre. So Maguire got sent off for doing exactly the same as what happened to Man United in the Bournemouth box, but nothing happened from that, and immediately they ran down the other end and scored. And I think the correct decision would have been to cancel the goal and to go back and give a penalty and either a yellow or a red card to the defender in Bournemouth, but they didn't do anything about it. And then the irony being that Maguire did the same, maybe even not as bad, right at the end of the game and got sent off for it. So 2-2, Christie, Krupi, Fernandes, and who had a brilliant game again, and Hill with an own goal at the end there. But yeah, Man United were hard done by, I think. Always nice to see Bournemouth doing well though. Brighton, Welbeck, conversations about him going to the World Cup. He's the top scoring Englishman in the Premier League this season. 2 goals from him. Brilliant goal from Turkiye, pouncing on a mistake at the back from Lewis Dunk, but not enough to get them to win. So away again, Liverpool not doing great away from home. Fulham, Harry Wilson back, and they win again. That's just the way it works this season for them. 3-1, King, Wilson and Jimenez with a 95th minute penalty to beat Fleming. To beat Burnley with a goal from Fleming and a red card as well. First ever goal in the Premier League, I believe, for King. So it's nice for him. Wilson having an absolute blinder yet again. Obviously I'm very much panicking. Recording this video on Monday night. And Wales have obviously got that playoff on Thursday, so wish us luck, everyone. Man City Crystal Palace cancelled for the cup final, which Man City obviously beat a very sort of underwhelming Arsenal on the day, 2-0. So well done to Man City, the first trophy of the season. Compounding Chelsea's very poor performance in Europe, 3-0 winners from Everton, and the stadium was rocking, absolutely rocking. Better with 2 goals in day with a third. Chelsea didn't have any answers and are just doing so poorly at the moment. I'm worried for Liam Rossini's job. They're not exactly the most patient when it comes to managers, are they? And then Leeds and Brentford, kind of uninspiring game, to be honest. 0-0, but both teams kind of didn't want to lose. Yet again, this I think is 11 games now unbeaten from Sunderland in the Timea derby. So obviously that late goal killing the hope of everyone in the stadium. Gordon with an early goal, but then Talby, he was end to end, and there were lots of goal mouth chances from both teams. But Talby with a 57th minute equaliser, and then Pobby right at the end. And yeah, Newcastle looked really shaky at the back at times, and lots of mistakes being made in the second half. The first half was absolutely fantastic from their perspective, but they didn't capitalize on it, and obviously they're missing key midfielders, lots of players obviously out at the minute. And I'm a little bit worried about Eddie Howe's job, to be honest, because obviously they're out of Europe now, quite embarrassingly, so against Barcelona, and then lost twice against Sunderland this season. Aston Villa, however, stopping West Ham's momentum with a 2-0 win. McGinn and Watkins to keep them in the top 4, searching for Champions League football again. And I was out, I was having lunch in a pub, and this was up on the big screen. I couldn't believe my eyes. 3-0 in London, Nottingham Forest winners. Obviously, from my perspective as a neutral and a Welshman, Nico Williams having an absolute blinder. Jesus, Gibbs White and Awoniyi, but you know, they can't even blame. He changed the tactics again, Tudor. He went to like a back 4. He's still playing loads of people out of position. He's playing Pedro Porro in midfield, for example. I just don't think the team know what they're doing. And the home fans were really trying to make a ruckus and support their team, obviously knowing it's not the time to start, you know, booing and jeering them, as they have been very unhappy all season, but now is the crunch time. But 3-0 is damning. I know they hit the crossbar at one point and they had a couple of chances on goal, but it was terrible. I'm actually getting to the point where I'm really worried about Tottenham's future, because if they were to go down, that stadium, losing all those players, it could cripple. I wouldn't imagine it's a safe bet, particularly from how difficult the Championship is and how many teams go down and either go down again or stay in that league for 10 years. There's no guarantee in that league that you're going to bounce back up. It's not like other leagues in Europe where such a massive team would be relegated and then come straight back up. No. Not in the Championship. You get swallowed up in that league. You do not want to get relegated. So maybe we'll see some managerial changes by the time this video even goes out. Have I got any news here? I mean, there's talk, but I don't think there's any actually. Oh, and his dad's passed away as well, which is terrible. Obviously, my condolences goes out to him. Yeah, no news yet. And obviously, does that affect the decision? Do you sack him to keep your club afloat when his dad's just passed away? That's awful. Because they were sort of talking on Match of the Day that they might be swayed by him having his bad news, but I don't know if you can afford to be sentimental at the moment either. It's horrible, but... So anyway, that's the Premier League. Let's just check in with a couple of the others. So the Championship, Coventry City battered my Swansea City in Swansea this week. So they look very certain to go up now, don't they? I mean, they always have, but had a little wobble there. Coventry City, Middlesbrough, Ipswich chasing them, as well as Millwall. Really close battle between those three. Hull City are completely out of it, and then Southampton. Wrexham have dropped out of the top 6. Derby, Watford, Norwich. Swansea in 14th. And then, wow, the Robins are in 16th. They've fallen quite low. And then Leicester in still massive club, obviously 22nd. Oxford 23rd and Sheffield Wednesday. Nothing can help them 24th. Women's Super League, Man City are top, and they beat Spurs 5-2, 3 goals from Shaw, Kaja Shaw, Carolyn and Neil Dayan. Holt and England with the 2 goals for Spurs. Scotland, bit of a shock on the weekend. Hearts still top by 3 points. Rangers now outright second, and Celtic in third. Motherwell still in 4th after a bit of a bad run as well. And down the bottom, Livingston, Kilmarnock just above them, but 2 wins on the trot for them. Because Celtic lost to Dundee United 2-0. Ferry and Ajay with the 2 goals. That's a bit of a surprise. Rangers beating Aberdeen 4-1. Chukwuani, Moore, Raskin and Tavernier. And I mean, I'd love to see Hearts win, just as I've said several times on this channel, just to beat the status quo in a league where it's always one of the 2 teams, Rangers or Celtic, to win the title. But if they slip up, I think it's Rangers is to lose at that point. And that's so weird when you think about how bad their season, like how monumentally awful their season started. So obviously big kudos to their new manager. McEntee with the only goal for the 10 men of Hearts, but they managed to get it done against Dundee, and they stay top. In Wales, TNS lost. I mean, they are like champions already. Conisky are second, Colwyn Bay, Barry, Penabont, Bridgend and Carnarvon in the top 6. And TNS actually lost to Colwyn Bay 2-0 at home with a red card for Jack Edwards. Cyril and Davis were the away goals for Colwyn Bay. And other notable results, Conisky beating Penabont, Woodcock and Hughes with a late winner, 94th minute, to cancel out Cvetkovic's goal for Bridgend Penabont. And Northern Ireland, Larne are now top. Oh, they were top anyway. Glentoran second, Coleraine in third. Glentoran could only draw with Coleraine 1-1, Stewart and McConaughey. And where have they gone? Larne beating Glenavon 3-0 away from O'Neill, Milan, Ryan. Okay, MLS then. So Nashville doing really, really well. They are top. Unbeaten. So far the only one in the Eastern Conference is unbeaten. New York City in second, Inter Miami in third. Down the bottom are Philadelphia, who have lost 5 out of 5, surprisingly. And then LAFC. They are top in the Western Conference. Vancouver, the Canadians doing really well. They just lost a match to drop from the top. And San Jose Earthquakes in third. And down the bottom are Sporting Kansas. Nashville top overall when you combine the 2 tables. Recent results then yesterday. Dallas beating Houston 4-3 with goals from Farrington, Holmes and Musa. Then Colorado winning away 4-1. Aronson with 2 goals, Frederick and Navarro. St. Louis beating New England at home 3-1 with goals from Becher, Durkin and Hartel. Austin and LAFC 0-0. Vancouver losing home to San Jose 1-0, goal from Leroux. Cincinnati beating Montreal 4-3 with a red card as well. Eshenik, Jabari, Barlow and Denki. New York City FC losing at home to Inter Miami 2-3. Fernandez and Ojeda for the home team, but Lujan, Messi and Mikael with goals for the away team. Minnesota Seattle Sounders 1-1. Portland with 10 men 1-1 with LA Galaxy, Velda and Klaus, the goal scorers. And then San Diego with a red card as well. 2-2 draw with Salt Lake in Varts and Traya, and then Solans and Olatunji with the goals for the away team. In Deutschland, it seems pretty inevitable now that Bayern will win. They should have the title soon. Borussia Dortmund in second, doing brilliantly, and daylight between them and third, which is Stuttgart. Leipzig with a big win on the weekend. They are in fourth. Hoffenheim dropping out now after some poor results. Only one win in 5. They're in 5th place. I think Germany might get the 5th this year. It's not going to be France, it's not going to be Italy. It's between Spain. It depends what happens with Barcelona and Real Madrid in the Champions League, I guess. But if Bayern get to the final, like I say, maybe it'll be enough for Germany to get the extra, and they could have 5 teams in the tournament in the Champions League next year. Bayer Leverkusen in 6th. Frankfurt picking up more points than they had been doing, so 7th for them. Hamburg in 12th. Cologne now down in 15th. No win in 5 for them. St. Pauli, 2 losses in a row there in 16th, a playoff spot. And then Wolfsburg in big trouble in 17th, and Heidenheim practically gone. They are in 18th. Highlights then: Dortmund beating Hamburg 3-2 by Sabini with 2 penalties, and Girassi with the winner on the 78th. Well, actually, technically, the 84th minute penalty was the winner. Bayern beating Union Berlin 4-0. Olise 2 for Gnabry and another one from Kane. And St. Pauli losing at home to Freiburg 2-1. Sinani, his goal cancelled out by 2 from Matanovic. Stuttgart winning away in Augsburg 5-2. Rieder and Kade with the home team's goals, but the away team 2 from Dennis Undav, Tomas Nate and Demirovic. Serie A. Inter they're on a bit of a wobble, which is wonderful because they got Roma next after the international break. Could that match be after Italy do not qualify for the World Cup? The unthinkable. Maybe. So Inter will have to break this little down spell they're on, which is allowing their big rivals Milan to try and catch up with them, who themselves have got a game next with Napoli in 3rd place. So we'll see what happens, but Como are the absolutely undeniable star of the show at the moment. They're the richest team in Italy, so obviously it's just all about money, but still it's well run. Excellent coach in Fabregas. And they're doing brilliantly. They played some nice stuff, and they're looking like getting that Champions League spot at the moment, because both Juve and Roma and Atalanta to an extent are not consistent enough to catch them. That obviously 5 out of 5 there is superb. And then down the bottom, Fiorentina now in 16th with a little bit of daylight, only 1 loss in 5. Cremonese, Lecce dropping into the relegation zone to join Verona and Pisa. Verona and Pisa are in big trouble, but I think Lecce, Cremonese, and to an extent Cagliari for Fiorentina are all involved in the last spot. Highlights then: so Napoli beating Cagliari 1-0 with a goal from McTominay in the 2nd minute. Also we saw Milan beating Torino 3-2, Pavlovic, Rabiot and Fofana with the goals for the home team. A draw for Juve, Yildiz, his goal cancelled out by Pinamonti of Sassuolo. Como hammering bottom team Pisa 5-0, Duvikas and Pass with 2 of the 5 goals. Lazio winning away to Bologna, 2 goals from Taylor. Roma beating Lecce just at 1-0, but Lecce defended so brilliantly. Faz with his first goal for his new team after his transfer from Marseille in the January transfer window. We paid quite a lot of money for him, and I've started to see why after the Europa League match. both legs, particularly the first leg. Oh no, the second leg, excuse me, he was brilliant. And then came off the bench in this one. He might start the next game, to be honest, because he was a breath of fresh air. Fiorentina drawing with Inter, Ndor cancelling out Esposito's goal. Esposito scoring regularly now for Inter. And then on to the Netherlands, Eredivisie. 2 losses in a row for Eindhoven. Feyenoord can't catch them, basically, but still. Nijmegen still in third, this fantastic technical mastermind of their coach, where they just basically everyone attacks. I really want to watch them. I'm looking out for a time where I can see one of their matches. Ajax in 4th, Twente, Alkmaar, Utrecht now climbing the table, no loss. Could they end this season really, really well, get back into Europe for their manager's retirement? And Heerenveen in 8th. Groningen trying to pick up more points recently after that terrible run. And down the bottom, Excelsior, Breda and Heracles. Fixtures, we've seen what? Nijmegen drawing with Heerenveen, Sherry with 2 goals, Trensko and Meerveld with the other goals for Heerenveen. Utrecht beating Go Ahead Eagles 2-0, Zechiel and Stepanov. Is this one De Klassiker? De Klassiker, Feyenoord and Ajax 1-1. Moder and Steur with the goals. And then PSV losing to Telstar. Oh my goodness, wow. Little old Telstar. 3-1, Bauer, Van Duyn and Thean. Cancelling out Sildilia's goal. Okay, Canada has not started back yet. Ligue 1 of France. 1 point now between Paris Saint-Germain and Lens. Marseille 10 points behind Lens, so I don't think they can really catch them. Lyon in 4th. Then Lille and Monaco. Now that's weird. I thought... Oh, they have to qualify in 4th place in Ligue 1. Interesting. So it's not a guaranteed Champions League spot, so it's in Lyon's interest to catch up with Marseille as best they can, but they haven't won in 5 games. Monaco in 6th, Lille in 5th, Rennes in 7th, but their overall performance, a little wobble at the moment, has been a lot better. Strasbourg in 8th, and then Nice still in 15th. They've got Strasbourg next. They're 5 points ahead of Auxerre in the relegation playoff spot, and then Nantes and Metz down the bottom. Key highlights then, so Lens beating Angers 5-1, Thauvin, a name I haven't heard for a while, Florian Thauvin, remember him, Newcastle fans. Edouard, 2 goals, Sangaré and Udol. Paris Saint-Germain heaping the woe onto Nice. 4-0 winners, Mendes, Doué, Fernandez, Zia Emery. Lyon losing at home to Monaco, Sultz, this has been a bad week for them. And then Akliouche and Balogun with the goals for the away team. Marseille losing home to Lille. Nwaneri, and then Meunier and Giroud with the goals for the away team. And then lastly Strasbourg beating Nantes 3-2. 2 goals from Panishelli. Okay, Australia, mate. Newcastle Jets at top, New Auckland in 2nd, Melbourne in 3rd, Adelaide, Sydney and Macarthur, and down the bottom are Western Sydney Wanderers still. Key highlights then, so Melbourne beating Central Coast 4-1. I recognise him. Juan Mata scored a goal. And Sydney losing home to Newcastle Jets with goals from Mizunuma and Gibson. Gibson with a 93rd minute winner there. Wellington Phoenix won away from home as well. Piper and Eze with the 2 goals to win 2-1 against Brisbane Roar. And Perth and Melbourne City 1-1. La Liga. So, Barcelona are still top, 4 points. There's a little bit of a buffer between them. Villarreal in 3rd, Atleti, they keep swapping, don't they? In 4th. They've got Barcelona next. I don't see Real Betis catching them, as 13 points between them is such a gap between the Champions League spots and the rest in Spain. So Real Betis 5th and Celta Vigo in 6th, having this fantastic season. Oh, having a bit of a wobble though. Don't worry, they're against Valencia next. We'll give them some points. In saying that, we've only lost 2 in 5. We won 3 matches. Girona now in 13th, Sevilla in 15th, Mallorca, Levante and Real Oviedo in the relegation spots. But Mallorca have got Real Madrid next. Key highlights then, so Villarreal beating Sociedad 3-1, goals from Moreno, Mikau Tadze and Pepe. And Osasuna beating Girona 1-0, goal from Budimir, he scores all the time. Sevilla losing at home to Valencia 2-0, Duro and Ramazani with the goals. Starting to pick up some form at last. Barcelona beating Rayo with a goal from Araujo 1-0. Celta, oh, they're excellent, they lost at home to Alaves. Shukra with 2 goals and Alvarez with a third, but they lost by 4 goals to 3, so Martinez 2 goals, Perez and Rebash with the away team's goals. Athletic Club beating Real Betis 2-1, Vivian and Sanfet with the goals. And then the Madrid derby, Real Madrid beating Atleti 3-2, 2 goals from Vinicius, 1 a penalty, and another goal from that man Valverde. Lookman and Molina with the 2 goals for the away team. Okay, let's just flit through the other leagues very quickly then. Galatasaray are still top 4 points ahead of Fenerbahce, Trabzonspor in 3rd, Besiktas now back into European spots after a good run in 4th. They are in the derby with Fenerbahce next. Down the bottom are Fatih Karagümrük. The Allsvenskan has not started back up yet. Serie A in Brasil. Palmeiras are top. Sao Paulo after that shock loss. Oh, they've got 2 now. Are in 2nd. Fluminense in 3rd. Flamengo in 4th after their change of managers. Bahia and Atlético Paranaense. Then Coritiba, Grêmio, Vasco da Gama, Vitória, Corinthians Internacional, who have won 2 out of 2. Atletico have won 2 in the last 5 now, both moving out of the drop zone. Red Bull in 14th, Chapecoense in 15th, Santos in 16th, but still some big teams. Botafogo, Mirassol, Remo and Cruzeiro bottom of the table. Who did they beat then? So Internacional beat Chapecoense 2-0, Patrick as well as Mercado with the goals. Vasco da Gama beat Grêmio 2-1, Cuiabano and David. Sao Paulo losing at home to top of the table Palmeiras. Sao Paulo lost the other day to Atlético Mineiro as well. Arias with the only goal of the match. And Fluminense, yes, I did keep an eye on that score. Castillo with the only goal. Fluminense 1, Atlético Mineiro 0. League of Ireland then after 8 games, Bohemian, the most supported side. I think I was looking at attendances. Bohemian by far the most attended team in Ireland. St. Pat's in 2nd and Shamrock having a little bit of a wobbly start, but I was okay, only 1 win away from the top in 3rd. And down the bottom, Sligo and Waterford. What was their last result then? Shamrock 2-0 winners against Galway. Bohemian 1-1 with Dundalk. Hickey and Sharazka with the goals. The Sharazka is the away goal, own goal, I mean. Okay, take a deep breath. We're going to look at the Ekstraklasa. What crazy things have happened this week. Lech Poznan is top. So Jagiellonia Białystok, who've been top forever, have actually won a game, but they're now in 3rd. Zagłębie Lubin, who the last time I checked were winning, have lost their last 2 games and now they're in 2nd. And Lech Poznan, who were like 4th or 5th the last time I checked, are now top. This is the craziest league. Okay. And Raków Częstochowa are in 6th. Legia Warszawa got out of the relegation zone. No loss in 5 at least matches for them. Arka, Gdynia, Widzew Łódź and Termalica Nieciecha are bottom. And the Liga Profesional. So in the Apertura Group A, Vélez Sarsfield are top, Defensa Justicia are second, still unbeaten as well. Estudiantes in third, Lanús, Talleres, Boca are in sixth, they haven't lost in 5 matches now. Unión Independiente, who are on a bit of a bad run. Those old boys are down the bottom, but they have just won their first match of the season. And in Group B, Rivadavia in first place, but River Plate on a bit of a good run now. They are in second, they have Belgrano next, who are in third. Racing are in fourth, Rosario Central fifth, Tigre, Barraca Central and Argentinos Juniors in eighth. Estudiantes de Rio Cuarto down the bottom. Recent results then, River Plate beating Estudiantes de Rio Cuarto at the bottom of the table 2-0, goals from Montiel and Salas. And Boca beating Instituto 2-0, Aranda and Barreiro with the 2 goals. Liga MX in Mexico, Chivas are back on top. Cruz Azul have dropped after 2 draws in a row to second, and Toluca in third. Pumas having a great season in fourth. Tigres in seventh. Club America have won a couple more, although they lost their last match. They're in eighth, and Monterrey still struggling this season in ninth. Santos Laguna down the bottom. Portugal. Porto still top. Sporting still second. Benfica still unbeaten, but in third. And Braga in fourth. No changes there then. And Nacional, Tondela and AVS Futebol SAD at the bottom. Whizzing through these now. Belgium, Saint-Gilloise are top, but Saint-Truide in third still. Club Brugge in second, still can do it. They've got Anderlecht next. Gent, Mechelen and Anderlecht make up the top 6. And Dender are down the bottom. Norway has started back 2 games in. Tromsø are top, Vålerenga, Viking and Lillestrøm. Well, actually Lillestrøm have only played 1 match. Glimt haven't played yet because of course they had their Champions League matches to think about. And Eladas in Greece, AK Athens are top, 2 points ahead of Olympiakos, their rivals. Thessaloniki are in third, PAOK, and Panathinaikos are in fourth, but by some distance. In Russia, Krasnodar are still top, Zenit St. Petersburg second, Lokomotiv in third, Baltika doing brilliantly fourth. My team Spartak are in 6th. And down the bottom are Sochi. And in Denmark, AGF are still top, 5 points ahead of Midtjylland and Sønderjyske. Vibo, Nordsjælland and Brøndby are in the top 6. And Copenhagen just lost again, 3 losses in a row now. They're having an absolutely awful season. I don't think they're anywhere near getting relegated, but still, it's the worst season in many, many, many years. Okay, let's go over to Asia really quickly. Seoul are top, unbeaten after 4 matches with 4 wins, and Ulsan are second, Jeonbuk in third, and Jeju Island are down in 12th. Incheon, my team, are in 9th. In the J-League, they've got Kashmir Antlers top of the Eastern League, Tokyo in second and Machida Zelvia in third, with Kyoto Sanga in top of the West League. Wow, well done to them. Gamba Osaka in second and Vissel Kobe in third. Then we have Austria, Bundesliga. Sturm Graz are now... Oh yes, Sturm Graz are 1 point ahead of Rapid Wien, and Austria Wien are still in it as well. Salzburg down in 4th. Lask and Hartberg. Oh, Hartberg are doing brilliantly, with Linz down the bottom. Switzerland then, Thun still doing it. They have lost a match for once, but they're so far ahead I cannot see them being caught. St. Gallen in second, Basel, Lugano, Sion and Young Boys in the top 6, Winterthur down the bottom. In Czechia, Slavia Praha 10 points ahead of their city rivals, Sparta Prague at the top, Victoria Plzeň in the usual third spot, with Jablonec in 4th, Sigma Olomouc in 5th, and Dukla Praha still down the bottom. Banik Ostrava, cannot believe they're down that low, they are in 15th. Ukraine, Cherkasy are top, but Shakhtar Donetsk have a game in hand and they have the same number of points, but Polisia Zhytomyr in 3rd. Could Dynamo Kiev lose out on European football for the first time in goodness knows how many years? Very interesting situation this year with Cherkasy and Zhytomyr doing pretty well. And then the Saudi Pro League, Al Nassr still top, with Al Hilal 2nd and Al Ahly in 3rd, but they lost their last match. Al Qadsiya is in 4th. Al Ittihad is actually down in 6th, and they've only won 1 of their last 5 matches. Al Najma is down the bottom, and they've got top team next. And that is that. I hope you enjoyed this little catch-up. And if you did, click the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you're thinking in your league, in your country's league, in your what's happening with your favourite team, etc., favourite player, what's going on, tell me all the news, all the gossip. And if you're new to the channel, we do this every week, or I try to at least, so click subscribe if you enjoyed it to make sure you don't miss out on any more. And check out that Champions League, Europa League, Conference League video I did earlier on in the week if you've missed it. And lastly, don't forget to join me on Patreon. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you soon. And bye bye bye.